Hey everybody, it's me, Russ. I'm here in downtown Seattle.
The truth is not the truth. Absolute. Absolute, yeah.
Today, going over the album Rush, Grace Under Pressure. If you watched my record store day video, you know that, like, how are you? Grace Under Pressure. Put that in on the way. See how this sounds. $2. Oh, that's not good. Together or something. Sometimes, yeah, that's not great. 1984. Yeah, there's probably people watching.
One eternity later.
I fixed it. There it is. And Grace Under Pressure. See that? Just did he get out the wax and put it on a tape? That's how I listen to a lot of my records, you know? Or did he pull it off of the interwebs? Recording stuff off the Spotify or off a record? I'll never tell. I have a lot of Rush records, by the way, so, and I can hook my tape player to the record thing. Not to be too controversial, but that's, there you go. I fixed it, and now I can listen to the tape in the vehicle here. Back on the road. You know, the tape I bought wasn't, so I think I feel fine about it, right? Did I record it from a record or Spotify? I can't. It's controversial, isn't it, right? You could just, why do I listen to tapes? So you might be asking that question. Why are you listening to a cassette tape, Russ? When you got streaming, don't you do Spotify? Like if you do Spotify, I got my little speaker in here. This is cool, but it doesn't give me the sound that the sound system in this thing does. This is a 1998 Chrysler Town & Country.
It is a leather-trimmed interior, and now it ties as J.D. Power & Associates' most appealing minivan, the new Chrysler Town & Country LXi, built on the belief that great cars appeal to a more passionate side.
And it actually has a pretty good system. I know you're not going to hear that, you know, through your speakers or whatever you're listening to, and as this iPhone records my but it does. It sounds good. This is a good sounding system in this vehicle. They used, what, Infinity speakers back then? I mean, they're kind of went cheapo later on, but they're pretty good speakers. At least they were. Anyway, this is a good sounding system, right? On that. Anyway, you get my point. That sounds better than that little Bose speaker. The Bose speaker sounds good for a one speaker system thing, but if I want to crank it up and I want to hear the music, it sounds good. And then all this thing plays is cassette tapes until I get another, you know, if I could find one at a wrecking yard, because you can't, I don't know, I haven't really looked that hard, but from what I understand, no one's selling cassette players for mobile vehicles anymore, unless they're really super cheap, crappy ones, you know? Maybe Temu. That's something. No, don't buy things on Temu. That's a whole thing going on right now in my household. Temu, what? Anyway, I digress again. Grace Under Pressure by Rush. This came out 1984. It is an amazing album. Love the band Rush. And another cool thing, another thing I forgot to mention about why I put these things, or I like cassette tapes, and, you know, traveling in the car here, whether it's cassette or CD, doing what I do for work, I spend a lot more time with the music. I guess you could say I could do that with streaming as well. But the difference is, with streaming, and the reason I have like Facebook notifications turned off, X or Twitter, what used to be Twitter, I hardly use that anymore since Elon took it over. It's just weird and different. X is just stupid name. Couldn't get more creative than that. Elon, really? Leave it Twitter, for God's... Anyway, my point is, it's like social media for me. It's distracting. I find streaming, I like Spotify. So far, Spotify is my favorite streaming service just because of the layout and the way it works. I would totally be on board if we decided to lobby for a penny a play. Spotify would still make a fortune, even if they did pay a penny a play, because they made like 80 some odd billion dollars, which is more than some banks make for playing streaming songs, right? That's crazy. It's bigger than the GDP of some countries, is what Spotify brings in a year. So they could totally afford to pay artists, but they don't. But they got, you know, they got this technology for it. It's just capitalism, right? It's a late stage capitalism, and how, you know, primary narcissism has taken over some of these corporations and have turned it into the capitalistic, you know, money over people, not caring about the feelings and the hearts of people, the creativity of people, the understanding of love, right? Compassion. Things that make the world less worldly. Those kinds of things. Love. Not affection. Love makes the world less worldly. And that's another reason I like Rush. They're more philosophical as a band. You know, there's deep concepts in the music. Rush fans, it's almost like it's almost like church a little bit, right? It's like a little bit of a cult following with the Rush fans. Love the Rush fans. I'm a Rush fan myself, but I'm not like religious about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some people that just have seen. I've never been that way with one band. I usually am good. I can see a band. I'll see a band twice on different tours, but I'm just not the guy that goes and follows. First of all, I don't have the money, the resources for such a thing. I might, if money was no object and time was no object, just follow a band around. That'd be kind of cool. But I've never felt the need to do something like that. But Rush, and there's a lot of bands that people do that with, but for me, Rush, it seems like, has that kind of following. Like, I've met a lot of people that are just Rush, just, I like to talk about music having a, having an imprint on the soul. How one person emotes into song or art. It resonates on a heart level. By heart. Sometimes I feel like I need to explain that as well, right? The heart is an ancient metaphor. From what I understand, the early writings of heart stuff, the symbol that we all, click when we like something now on Instagram or whatever, it's been denigrated into being really shallow. But the heart, the definition of the heart is this wellspring from which all motivation comes forth. So when someone's heart is broken, that's usually a sign that they're depressed, right? Or they're just, you ever had a friend that goes through a breakup, for example, and they're just sitting around and drinking too much or eating ice cream on the couch for days on end, and they have to work through that emotional pain. It's heartbreak because we don't feel like getting out there living life like a vibrant human being. So when I say music resonates with the heart, it does something to the heart. It affects the heart in a certain way. That's what I talk about. And Rush is a band that is amazing for doing that. This album didn't get as much airplay as, Moving Pictures, for example. There was, a few hits on this album. But, beyond hits, Rush, for me, and I really haven't noticed that until I got into my older age, to be honest. When I was a teenager, I like Rush, but I wasn't sitting down listening to the albums as much as I would nowadays. Pink Floyd is an album. All the Pink Floyd albums, another album band. When I was a teenager, man, I'd hang out and listen to Pink Floyd. And sometimes substances would have involved, right? So there's that. But mostly it was just the music. The music resonated with my life at the time and just what I was going. Dark Side of the Moon is just an amazing record. But again, Rush gets into some of that Pink Floyd-y kind of, I'm not going to say cult following stuff, but music that goes a little deeper. And I know Pink Floyd would be way more psych than Rush would be, more prog rock, right? It's prog rock, progressive rock. What does that mean? People say prog rock, that's short for progressive rock. But progressive in what way, right? In not doing acid and listening to Pink Floyd records, you know, listening to music that has a little more depth to it without substances. Is that what we're talking about? And again, it's one of those things, right? Somebody said prog rock, that my first inclination is, what the heck do you mean by prog rock? Because that could mean a lot of different things to different people. Here in the U District, Distant Early Warning was a good song. I remember that from back in the day. First song in the album kicks off with that amazing tune. Red Sector A on this album is pretty amazing. It reminds me, you know, going back to the 80s, some of the lyrics, you know, the Soviets are the blues, you know. What is red? What is red meant by in this this song? There's a lot of music about peace, creating peace, and I believe that Rush is trying to get into the social psychology of it. You know, it's weird how here we are in almost 2025. You know, this is 1984, so we're 40 years in the future now, and again we're at odds with the Soviets, right? The good old Putin over there and starting the war that the whole world is declared awful and wrong, except for North Korea, of course, and some other countries, possibly China. Anyway, don't get me started on that. The point is that the Soviets are the bad guys again, at least here in North America. Rush being from Canada. But also, you know, the song to me sort of is bringing up this idea that the people aren't evil, right? I mean, some of us could still communicate with Russians, the Russian people, you know, helping the Russian people understand what's going on over there, whatever kind of propaganda they're getting on the war with Ukraine. Just an interesting Red Sector A, interesting song on there. We read the lyrics. Read through the lyrics a little bit after the last task, sitting there in the horrible traffic in the U District. Now we're smooth sailing on to the next gig. But there you go. I didn't want to spend too much time in this video talking about Rush lyrics because I could go on and on. All right, but really love this album. Not trying to be political. It's not about politics at all for me. It's about how I see the world through these here eyeballs on a sunny day in Seattle at another Home Depot because I forgot to get another thing. I'm gonna bid you a farewell, my friends. Rush, Grace Under Pressure. Story of my life. Right there. Later. Bye.
Christmas in Pizzaville. The scapegoats are riding themselves, pounding the pavement, listening for something new to sell. 'Cause it's age before beauty before the good, the bad, and the ugly. But ever, my dear, ever after.